I draw stickmen. An orthopedic surgeon once told me you could tell a lot from stickmen. As far as views from a camera, the angle from behind doesn't tell you that much. Here's me, for instance, versus Tiger. I'm 90% match, which is high. But what does that really tell you? Well, if it's me versus Lee, I'm 92%. So I swing like Lee Como in the backswing. Okay, the difference is that he opens his hip at the strike, the pelvis, and he rotates the top afterwards through the shot. The top meaning the top part of your body, your collarbone basically. He rotates better than I do. You can tell in the knees that he rotates his knees differently. He's rolling his ankles differently. But at the strike, we're pretty similar. I also do a release that other people don't do, which I'll talk about in a moment. Here's Lee, for instance, in the finish. We're very close. So if I look at it, Bobby Jones, I'm 88%. You'll notice that everybody kind of comes to the same top in the backswing. So I had figured out, okay, nothing matters in the backswing. Coming down is what matters. Here's me versus Rory McIlroy. So I swing like Rory. That's me against his driver. He's a little bit flatter than my iron. But I'm a 93% match to Rory as far as an iron. That's just on the backswing. So in terms of view, if somebody sends me this view, I get the least amount of information from this view because most people can match a pro backswing. You don't hit the ball with your backswing. You hit it with the through swing. Okay, me and Tiger, 87%. 90%, me and Jordan Spieth. 93% me and Rory in the iron, as I spoke about before. 90% is Lee versus Rory, so we all go have a backswing that's similar, our pelvis, our spine, our angles, all the same the way we use our arms. Okay, but here's the difference. Lee versus Rory, they open up their shoulders a little bit after the strike. They rotate their top better, and they have their pelvis more open to the strike than I would, for instance. Okay. And here's Tiger's finish versus me. You can match people in look, but that's not what matters. What matters is this, the face-on view. Here, even though Lee and I scored similar in a backswing, we're nothing alike on the through swing. He has much more tilt to his spine. Our pelvises are similar, but I have a flip-through release. It's not a flip-through, it's a conical pendulum release, and he's using more of a classic 90-degree relationship shaft to forearm with his left hand and turning on a ball better than I do. Is the results any different? Well, I'm long, I'm straight. It's just how I do it versus how he does it. So Rory and him have similar swings. So you can note these differences, and if you want to change. You can see that I look more like him as you go to the finish. Does it mean anything? No, it's between your feet that counts. The ball's already gone at this point. So it's not as important to me how I look here, to be honest. I'm always looking here. I can take from address or points in the swing, and what I see is different than what most people see. I see the X at the top. That's the true X factor. And I have a similar spine as I go through a ball. My spine's not moving a lot. You can see that here. And I'm using my arms a certain way so that I'm leveraging my arms, with a conical release. I'm not doing what they used to call a hold-on release or, delaying my hands. I'm going through my hands or a hinge, and I'm using the hinge at the center of my body and gaining more speed that way. I'm older than Lee. I'm older than, I'm 64 years old, so I have to produce speed differently. I produce it, with my hands and my leverage positions. So all I'm thinking in a strike is this: my hands are the hinge, and I'm using that club. The 90 degrees mark up there would be my hinge. So my hands hinge, and they snap that 90 down to the point I show here, down in front of my left foot. And I'm turning my spine in such a way where it's fairly tight, and you get that X at the top. It's not about your hips and pelvis versus that X, your shoulders. Not at all. That's not where power is produced. Power is produced in your arms, your hands, your fingers, the different leverage points. Here I am versus Rory, and you can see the release different. So I have, less spine tilt than he does. All right, but I match him in a lot of other areas. So I score an 88% when you take the skeleton men versus each other, which is wonderful. But I have a different release. So I'm not hinging my left hand the way he is. So he's releasing differently through the ball. And he's a little later. I have a conical release. Okay, here you can see your follow-throughs are different. His pelvis is wide open. But we're similar on top, to be honest. I just don't rotate my top as much as he does. He's hitting more off to the side, and it's that release that he's using. So you can tell a lot from skeleton men. You can tell a lot in live action, the differences. So if I wanted to change to his release and give it a try, I know how. I just get more tilt to my spine. Get my pelvis more open through the strike. Other than that, I would change my grip style so that I had a firmer left hand and I'm pulling more, so that I keep that relationship of that 90 degrees to my shaft to my left forearm, and then I'll start to match him differently. I'll start to match him better. It's not hard if you know what to look for. Here's Brooke Henderson. She has an interesting swing. I'm similar to her, but she's younger, more flexible. She can turn better. So she's turning her top, though. That's how she's producing her ball striking. Her top turns. The top meaning the sternum. It stays in place. You don't fall forward with it. You keep it similar to where you started at a dress. And most people don't do that. They don't turn the top at all. You got to have your pelvis open, but they don't turn the top. If you do turn your top, you look like this. Okay, you can see the X clearly on top. You can see the elbows. That's the center of your swing. Your elbows will always be in that middle, and you'll have a different look to your skeleton man. All right? It almost looks more like a helicopter. You're whirling. Your club is whirling through the strike. You're using your body correctly. You'll see this in great ball strikers. You don't see it in the ones who are always pulling left and right. But the great ball strikers have the spine the right way, and they're using the top, whereas your mobility is up in your top. Your shoulders, it's really your collarbone, and your C7 is the center. So you have to know what to look for so that you can get better. So I look at things like this all the time and match it against it. And when I look and I get lazy, I don't look like this. I get sloppy, and then I have to go and fix what I'm doing. Here's Jamie Sadlowski, for instance. His center actually drops back a little bit, but he's doing long drive. So he's got a longer club, gets more tilt. But basically, he looks like Brooke Henderson. You can see it here in me. Here's my X. It looks like I'm stable on the bottom. And this is my swing. I patterned it after this. You can see how stable C7 is, and therefore my head is stable through the strike. All great ball strikers do it. Here's Mike Dunaway. Same thing. Stable frame on the bottom, the X on the top, and you've got your 180-degree shaft angles. And that's what matters in the strike. You know, you're whirling. Your club is freewheeling. Your pelvis is just slightly open. You know, your bottom is stable. If you learn that your sternum has to stay still, okay, it actually has to counterbalance. You know, you're swinging your arms forward, therefore you have to counterbalance backwards with your head. You'll get this look. You know, you can see what we're after. We're turning the top. We got that X factor, but it is not the X factor that they wrote the books about. All that did was lead to injuries. Okay, so here's an example of that there. Our X factor is different. Know what to look for, know what's important. Don't listen to everything, because what I found out with dealing with the orthopedic surgeons, and you know, there's a lot of theories, you know, a lot of ways to look at a strike, but all that matters is this. Okay, what your bottom isn't as important as although it has to be stable, it's not as important as what this top is doing. You know, so when I look at something like this, a diagram, you just know he's one of the longest hitters basically on the planet. And this is Sadlowski. So I'm looking at two things. You know, I'm also looking at a third thing, which is this. I can have a line through here. Okay, and I know there's a top and a bottom. I also know that my shaft is basically doing 180 degrees between here, my release points between my feet. My club head is doing 180 degrees of arc. So know what matters.